I'm Chief Meteorologist T.J. Shuck in the ABC 36 Storm Team Weather Center. I want to come on the air and update you on the severe weather that is rapidly moving into central Kentucky. Of course, within the last hour or so, we were on with the late newscast showing you this intense squall line of thunderstorms working eastward, and it has really fanned out and has been racing off to the east. I mean, the entire line here, there's Louisville in the metro area, there's Mount Washington and Bullitt County, but the leading edge of this is already through Bardstown. You see a couple of tornado warnings, one for Shelby County, including Shelbyville. Now, it does include a small part of Franklin County, may have set some of the alerts off, and we just got a new severe thunderstorm warning for, again, a large part of the western part of the viewing area, Washington County, Anderson County, Mercer County, Woodford County, southern Franklin County, and a small part of southwestern Scott County, and that goes until 1 a.m., so about the next 40 minutes. Lexington not in this, but again, this thing's going to come rolling off to the east and northeast here pretty quickly. But I want to zoom in a little more closely here, and what's happening is, in addition to, again, the leading edge producing winds in excess of 70 to potentially 75 miles per hour, you can get a little isolated spin-up tornado. Either scenario is obviously creating some issues here. Let's see what the SCIT data is picking up here on this cell that's in the western part of Spencer County. So it's going to run up again toward Shelbyville, eventually Grafenberg, Baghdad here, Shelby County High School, all that coming up here within the next, say, half hour to 45 minutes. But actually want to get, we're going to go to the velocity data here. And what I want to show you is, it's the shear, it's what the radar algorithm is picking up as far as any possible rotation. Where you see the green, and especially where you see the little spots of red there, again, typically when we're isolating a cell that may be producing a tornado, you'll see this green and red just in one little spot. The fact that it is all up and down the line, that's an indication that you got a lot of wind aloft that is going down to the ground and then obviously spreading out pretty quickly. So it's this leading edge that's Taylorsville there in Spencer County, and also down toward Bloomfield there in Nelson County. Going a little farther to the north here, looks like they trimmed that down just a bit, but the actual radar velocity data here, where you see the reds and the greens side by side, that generally gives you an indication of where the rotation is, but it's pretty subtle overall, and that's one of the reasons why, again, that rotation detector can be a little bit more helpful relative to where we may be seeing it. Again, anywhere you see the reds and the greens side by side, like down here just south side of Taylorsville, could be one there, also another one. So that's what you're going to see up and down the line relative to the wind velocity here. So really anywhere as far as the west part of the metro area, just west of Lexington, you definitely want to be in a safe place, especially where we have the ongoing tornado warning. So the tornado warning is for Shelby County, part of Spencer County, and again, just a small little part of Franklin County west of Frankfort and up toward Eminence there in Henry County. But really, Shelbyville front and center. If you're in Shelby County, especially in the city of Shelbyville, again, you want to go to a basement. If you don't have a basement, an interior room, the lowest level of your home, preferably a closet or a bathroom, an interior room, the lowest level of your home. The other part of this, what we look for when we're looking at the reflectivity, I was showing you the velocity data, and again, that's what the winds are doing relative to the radar site. But any time you see this little notch area right here, that typically will show you what's where there may be some possible rotation, just looking at the reflectivity data. Of course, we've got the other tools to obviously show you what's happening relative to those winds. But I think it's going to be this area right here, right there where the skit data is. I think just south of Taylorsville, north of Bloomfield. So that's right, southern Spencer County. Looks like the northern part of Nelson County there. They have a little bit of rotation, so that's going to run over toward Van Buren and then eventually into the western part of Anderson County. So if you're in that area as well, you need to be in a safe spot. I'll put the velocity data. Obviously, you got a lot of lightning in this, a lot of heavy rain as well. So again, just a lot going on up and down this line. So the Weather Service in Louisville putting a heads up out, well ahead of this thing, because it's not going to last very long. Once it moves through your area, once that leading edge hits, that's when you're going to see the strongest winds and the potential of damage, and it will be gone in short order. And then once it moves through, that's going to be it. So it's really basically over Taylorsville Lake, Spencer County, Taylorsville, and then it's running down Bardstown. You're in the clear. This thing's racing up the Bluegrass Parkway, and it's approaching Springfield there, right along 55, coming off the Bluegrass Parkway. It's going to come rolling right through the heart of Washington County. So if you're watching in Harrodsburg, if you're watching in Lawrenceburg, it's just a severe thunderstorm warning with a possible tornado because, again, of these little notches that you get along the squall line as it moves eastward here. Actually want to go farther north as opposed to, I'll take this off as well since we're kind of blocking things here. But Shelby County still under the tornado warning here, and that's until 12:30. So got about another 5 minutes on that. We'll see if they extend it. Abby Summers is in here with me as well. She's checking the chat, see if there's anything, nothing on. So the tornado watch kind of goes to the point I was making a second ago. Once the line moves through, they're clearing counties from the tornado watch. So areas west of I-65, E-Town westward in the clear. But we got to get through the next probably hour and a half, especially here in the Lexington area. But this is clearly the strongest part of the line, which is, again, you see the radar updating. It's just right there on the west side of Shelbyville, right there along Interstate 64. It's through Simpsonville where the outlet malls are, but Shelby County, and then running again down into eastern Spencer County, just right over Taylorsville Lake. You see a little bit of pink in there. That's generally an indication of the potential of maybe some hail, even though we weren't expecting this to be a big hail producer. But there's Taylorsville Lake, and where you see the red there, that's an indication of some rotation in that area. And then going a little farther to the north here, you see it just south of Shelbyville here. So right there in that area. And they've actually just, looks like they just put a new severe thunderstorm warning out for Shelby County as well. I'm going to go a little bit wider here just to kind of give you a bird's eye view of everything. I'm going to step off the wall here and also take something off the little cursor thing here on our hand tracker is showing up when I don't really want it to. So we're going to do a little on air adjustment while we're on the air, nothing like dead air, and then we'll get right back to it. So there's kind of your bird's eye view. Interestingly enough, it looks like a lot of there's not as much lightning as there was a little bit ago. Okay, now I'm stuck on the cursor, so I'm going to have to step back off again and try it again. But anywhere west of Lexington there, Anderson County, Mercer County, Washington County, up to Shelby County, Franklin County as well. All those locations, you got a severe thunderstorm warning coming up until the top of the hour here. And this thing probably will work through the Lexington area, I'd say within the next 45 minutes to an hour. So we're definitely going to have to ride this thing out. All right, we got our hand tracking back now. So I'll put a track on the leading edge of this. So again, it's really in eastern Spencer County, running all the way down to Springfield. And again, this thing's, well, we'll try it again here since it's acting up a little bit. So putting a track on it here, it's coming into the western part of Anderson County there, and then we'll lay it down. It's racing to the east. It's probably going to be here quicker than that because that's only 45 miles per hour. I mean, this thing's moving, what, 60, 65 miles an hour? At least that's what they've been indicating as far as the updates from the Weather Service. So right over Shelbyville, coming out of Spencer County into the western part of Anderson County. So Lawrenceburg, heads up, because it looks like it may be bowing out a little bit as it moves just right along the Bluegrass Parkway there toward Lawrenceburg. Coming into the central part of Washington County. Harrodsburg, give it less than 30 minutes. It's going to be your direction. And then areas farther to the north, we still got that tornado warning. Take a look at that cell and see how it's looking relative to the shear in that area. There's a little bit, nothing really jumping out on it. They're going to let the tornado warning expire. Yeah, because it's done in a minute anyway. And again, it's not even showing up in that regard. So if there's any bit of quote unquote good news, at least all the tornado warnings are being allowed to expire. But what we've got is a pretty intense squall line of storms that are rolling eastward here. So Frankfort, Lawrenceburg, Harrodsburg, they're along the US 127 corridor. This is going to be coming your way here within probably the next 10 to 15 minutes. So all the tornado warnings have been allowed to expire. Abby's looking at some of the storm winds and, probably 1,000, 2,000 feet off the deck. They're all showing up, some parts of it 55 to 60 miles per hour. Farther north, what's that up? Yeah, Shelbyville, you're probably looking at upwards of 70 mile per hour winds. That's the difference. The criteria for severe thunderstorm warning is 58 miles per hour winds or greater. These along the leading edge here, you're looking at possibly 70 to 75 mile per hour winds. And there have been some reports back into Hardin County of 70 plus mile per hour winds. Some wind damage. There's, I think, a home back near E-Town had its roof blown off. So this thing means business as it moves in. So I'm gonna zoom in a little bit closer and just give you some of the communities here that are gonna be dealing with it. So the Waddy-Peytona exit there and Grafenberg. If you know that area along I-64 between Louisville and Lexington, this is going to be coming your way here shortly. Harrisonville there in southeastern Shelby County. Sinai in Anderson County. Johnsonville, it's just right on your doorstep. There's US 127 right there. Lawrenceburg, you cross the Bluegrass Parkway, you got Salvisa there in northern Mercer County. I'd say, again, I'm probably going to have to widen out just a little bit here and really pull the storm track out. I don't even know if it'll go that far. Yeah, that close in, it's not going to work because it's moving so quickly. So we'll clear that off. So again, this thing is racing eastward at about 60 to 65 miles per hour. So the severe thunderstorm warning, again, that includes a very large area. You see the polygon there. You've got the northern edge of the line, which is impacting Shelby County, northern Franklin, parts of Henry, and even up into Owen County. And that's a separate warning because that goes into Wilmington, Ohio's county warning area responsibility. But what they're doing is they're giving a heads up well ahead of time because, again, the speed at which the line is moving, which again is 60 to 65 miles per hour, and the potential for wind gusts in excess of 70 to 75 miles per hour. And obviously that would leave a pretty decent swath of hail damage. So Frankfort, Lawrenceburg, Harrodsburg, you're next. Want to be in your safe spot. Anything in the chat at all?
Just lots of power poles down in Hardin when it came.
So in Hardin County, when it came through E-Town, that area, a lot of trees and power lines down, and again, some structural damage as well. This is the part of the line. Notice how it's kind of jagged. It's these areas here where you see little, let me hit the telestrator here, get it activated. Well, let's try it again. I love the hand tracker. There we go. So it's this area right here in the Harrisonville area where you see that little kink or that little notch right there. Now, of course, radar just updated. That's where you could potentially see a bit of rotation spin. Let's look at the actual velocity. It's not really showing a whole lot, but notice how the shear, the rotation detector, it's not as prominent, or it's not jumping out as much as it was, say, 15, 20 minutes ago. That's good relative to the tornado threat, but the straight line wind damage threat, it's legitimate. It's going to be with us, and it goes all the way down to Sharpsville. It's right on top of Willisburg there in Washington County, Mackville. Give it about another 5 minutes. It'll be your way, and then it will get to Cornishville there in western Mercer County. Perryville, you're not in the warning, nor is Danville. It's really this part of the line here that, again, it looks like the northern edge of it is almost bowing out or fanning out a little more quickly than the southern part. So it's all the way up to the Waddy-Peytona exit there. If you've driven between Lexington and Louisville, you know the little watering hole there with several gas stations there at Waddy-Peytona. This thing's going to come rolling through there. Baghdad and Shelby County, a little small community there off to the northeast of Shelbyville, heading your way. So Frankfort, Bryant there in Franklin County, Jet, which is right there at exit 53. That's the area as you come into Frankfort, coming up US 60 from Versailles. I'd say within the next 10, 15 minutes tops, this should be at least approaching, if not there. That's how quickly it is moving along. And again, the Weather Service, that's why they put the severe thunderstorm warnings out until 1 o'clock. So, so far, the damage reports are trees and power lines, to go along with a few structural damage reports back into Hardin County. So kind of broaden it out here and give you a little better view. So this really stretches all the way from Louisville's in the clear now, from Trimble County there over to Carroll County coming up there. So Wilmington's issued warnings for Owen County, Henry County, Shelby County, just basically all up and down the line until you get farther south. Although down toward Lake Cumberland, we'll have to watch Campbellsville. You may do the old squeeze play. Lebanon, it's north of you, northwestern part of Marion County, but Lebanon proper, not in the warning. But really anywhere up and down this line, you're looking at the potential of some wind damage.
They're going to continue that tour possible in that severe thunderstorm warning.
All of these, or most of these severe thunderstorm warnings, they have a tag with them, tornado possible. In addition to the 70 to 75 mile per hour winds, you could get a very, very quick spin-up tornado. That's generally the scenario when we have this kind of setup, and it's unfortunate that it's happening during the overnight hours, especially as it approaches the Lexington metro area here. But you can get a quick spin-up, and obviously 70 to 75 mile per hour winds, that's enough to do damage like a little weak EF0 tornado would. But you just see how much ground this thing is covering. I mean, Lawrenceburg, like that, it is on your doorstep, and it looks like it literally kind of see how it looks like it's kind of bowing a little bit. And so that would lend itself to Lawrenceburg proper in Anderson County seeing the potential of some straight line wind damage as this thing comes rolling through, because again, that part of the cell, we'll go a little closer here. So from Farmdale right through Lawrenceburg, Anderson County High School there, just right off US 127, and then obviously farther south, Salvisa, McAfee, Harrodsburg. It's the orientation of it, again, the leading edge of this, doesn't matter where you are, when it comes through, it's going to be kicking some winds at least 55 to 60 miles per hour, if not greater. So anywhere from Harrodsburg up through northern Mercer County, again, McAfee, Salvisa, very rural area there of Mercer County, definitely be in a safe place. But it's this part here that is kind of fanning out a bit as it rolls through Waddy-Peytona and to the Grafenberg exit, and then eventually right toward Frankfort there in Franklin County. So you've got probably 10 to 15 minutes tops. Heavy, heavy rain, maybe a little bit of hail. Let me check the shear to see if there's anything that just jumps out. Doesn't look to be as much, and definitely not as much green, and we don't see that red tinge that we had, say, 25 minutes ago whenever we first came on. So that's definitely a positive, and hopefully that lends itself to the fact that this is going to be more of a wind issue than the spin-up tornado issue. But you're almost arguing semantics here, because anywhere up and down the line here, you're looking at the potential, again, of some wind damage. So as you look at the line as a whole, and remember, we've got the tornado watch that goes until 5 a.m. For all of central Kentucky, or at least the Lexington metro area. They extended it until 5 a.m. to include Lexington originally. It came all the way up to Woodford County much of Sunday evening here. But let's take a look at some of the threats here. This is an algorithm that, of course, with our Barron system here. Again, rain, a little bit of hail, especially there, Lawrenceburg up toward Frankfort. Don't see anything as far as rotation jumping out on the threats. We'll check the shear again. Nothing popping off there, which of course is good. But what's not good, again, is the fact that this thing looks to be bowing out a bit just right as it approaches the west side of Frankfort here. So Bryant, Frankfort proper, Farmdale, Lawrenceburg. So basically right down the US 127 corridor, it's coming up on you as we speak here. And so within the next couple of minutes, we'll zoom in even a little closer, just go in between Frankfort and Lawrenceburg. So it's this area here, literally just from I-64 basically down in between 64 and the Bluegrass Parkway, down 127, Farmdale, and down to Lawrenceburg. That's where it looks to be just kind of bowing out ever so slightly, but that's probably the strongest part of the line right now, just based on, as you go farther to the south, kind of fans more to the southwest. So that area here, again, you need to be in a safe place. Really anywhere where we have the severe thunderstorm warning, which goes all the way, again, up to basically the Fayette County line. Versailles, you're in it. Midway, you're in it. You see the polygon ends just before you cross the county line. Will they probably extend it at this point? Absolutely. So, so what we'll do is, since we don't have any tornado warnings right now, and I highly suspect they'll jump back on with a severe thunderstorm warning for Lexington and the metro area shortly, going to send you back to programming briefly so we can get a little info, regroup, and we will be back with you shortly. Again, anywhere here from Frankfort to Lawrenceburg to Harrodsburg and points to the north up to Owenton, and even Georgetown here in Lexington. Again, if you have gotten an alert, happened to wake up, tuned in, see what's going on, it's going to roll through the Lexington metro area here probably within the next half hour. In fact, I think we're going to just hang tight here, because I think as soon as we drop off, they're gonna pop the warning out. Have they not? They haven't said anything. So let me extend it out just a little bit here. So there's your bigger picture relative to the squall line coming in. We got some decent lightning with it. And as we alluded to earlier in the newscast a little while ago, and even as back when we were talking about it on Friday, this is going to be very fast moving. And when we see the strong winds, and when you see the strong winds in your particular area, they're not going to last very long at all. I mean, this thing is going to be quick hitting. It will be very, very strong winds, and they'll die down pretty rapidly. Now, there's some moderate to heavy rain that's going to linger behind it, but as it comes in, once that first gust hits, which essentially is happening right now on the west side of Frankfort, and since it's getting into the to the state capital area there, we'll zoom in a little more closely. So basically, from Capital City Airport, downtown Frankfort's not to Franklin County High School yet, but it will be here just in short order. And then again, just right down US 127. It's past 127 there. There's the Kentucky River. You can see on the base map there, the leading edge of that is hitting the river there as you cross out of Anderson County into Woodford County. So there's the city of Versailles, there's Milner, there's Tyrone. This is out Kentucky 62, which takes you from Versailles over to Lawrenceburg. So Lawrenceburg, Anderson County High School coming through your area right now. Strong winds, torrential rain. Hopefully you're in a safe place. Got about 15 minutes to go with the severe thunderstorm warning for Anderson, Woodford, up into Scott County, back to Shelby County as well. But once this moves through, you'll be in the clear in that regard. And then just on down the line here, McBrayer, it's on top of you here shortly, US 127. Here's the Bluegrass Parkway. So right there at the interchange, it takes you north to Lawrenceburg, south to Harrodsburg. This is going to come rolling through. Salvisa there in northern Mercer County, headed your way here, again, within the next couple of minutes. So bigger picture here. Frankfort, it's on top of you. Same story for Lawrenceburg, Midway, Versailles, eventually Lexington here. But it's this part right here in between Frankfort and Lawrenceburg, where that's kind of jutting out a bit as it moves into really now the northwestern part of Woodford County. This is going to be the area here where you're probably going to have your best potential of seeing your straight line wind damage. Again, we're not seeing the shear when we take a look at that we were a little while ago. Just notice how it virtually isn't showing up the algorithm at all. And again, when we first came on the air 35 minutes ago, it was definitely showing some decent shear. Also, it's getting a little farther away from the radar site. I think at some point we'll probably jump over, and as it approaches Lexington, switch over to Jackson. Here in Lexington, a few little isolated showers look like they're trying to pop up out ahead of the line, but I highly suspect the Weather Service, especially, we've got about 12 minutes to go here before the warning expires. It goes until the top of the hour, and it's really the northern part of it here, Frankfort to Millville. It's right there, I-64 at exit 53 as you come up US 60, beautiful drive from Versailles, the farmland or the farm area there on 60, and then hit the interchange. You go west to go to Louisville. You keep going on US 60 northwestward, and that takes you into Frankfort. Right there, the jet community. It's rolling right along exit 53 along I-64 as we speak. Millville, right there off the interchange, coming through your area. The worst of it has moved through Lawrenceburg. You got a lot of heavy rain, torrential rain, and you're going to continue to see that for a while. Versailles, you probably have 5-10 minutes tops before this comes on through, and then down into southern Woodford County, none such. I talked about the US 127 corridor. There's your leading edge right at the interchange of 127 and the Bluegrass Parkway. You go north to Lawrenceburg, you go south to Harrodsburg, again, Salvisa, McAfee, that long stretch along US 127 as you get off the Bluegrass Parkway and takes you down to Harrodsburg. That's going to roll your way here within the next couple of minutes. Rapidly getting closer to Lexington, although Lexington not in the severe thunderstorm warning yet. They may be. Again, I don't think it's necessarily going to outrun the box because the polygon, again, goes literally up to the county line with Woodford County into Fayette County, with Fayette County not in it. Obviously, Midway, Versailles, up into the western part of Scott County. Frankfort, you're in it right now as well. Nothing in the chat?
No, just a bunch of storm reports out of Indiana.
So, and it's one of those cases where, of course, as it moves in, it does its thing. It takes a little while to get some of the reports in. But any of these areas that the squall line is approaching, especially into northern Woodford, southeastern Franklin, and southwestern parts of Scott County. This is, again, the area of, let me broaden it out here just to give you a little perspective. That's the area that probably has the best potential of seeing some straight line wind damage, maybe upwards of 70, 75 miles per hour, because again, it looks like it's trying to just bow out ever so slightly. So if you're in Woodlake, if you're in Midway there, in northern Woodford County, right there along I-64, this thing is rolling out of Frankfort, Millville. It's going to be in Versailles here shortly. It's really that area halfway between Frankfort and Versailles along US 60. Again, a lot of folks, I'm sure, have made that beautiful drive with the rolling farmland there. It's coming across and hopefully not doing damage, but it has had a history of producing wind damage, especially back into Hardin County. We had a number of tornado warnings. We showed you that during the newscast a little while ago. But hopefully it's getting into, but unfortunately, just given how sharp and how well defined that leading edge is, it does look like that we're probably eventually going to have some reports of some trees and power lines down as well as this thing moves into the west side of Lexington here. So Bracktown, Kentucky Horse Park, Bluegrass Airport, this thing's through Versailles. So basically it's roughly where the Kentucky Castle is right now. And I'd say the next scan or two, it will have jumped into western Fayette County. So if you're here in Lexington, you're gonna hear the wind whip up pretty quickly, depending on where you are. Obviously, first and foremost is out here in western Fayette County, but out Versailles Road, out Harrisburg Road, out Leestown Road, Old Frankfort Pike, Bracktown, out toward Masterson Station Park, the Federal Medical Center there, just right across from Bracktown there. You're going to be the first ones to see it, and then up toward the horse park right there at the northern split. We may wish I could get some of the traffic cams up on the other one, but that's okay right now. And you see a little bit of shear there, and again, it's not just one little spot. A lot of times when we're tracking the potential of tornadoes, when we have tornado warnings, you'll just see a little spot of green or red. When you see this, that indicates, again, the potential of some straight line wind damage. I don't know, Matt, if you're in the control room, if you can switch over to the links too. If you can't, not a problem, but we're just kind of looking at some of that. Actually, the one that you had up, Abby, that had I-75 and Ironworks Pike, looks like, yeah, it's raining in Frankfurt. They're just kind of glancing off screen. So let me kind of broaden this thing out here a bit. So the area that is apt to have the best potential for straight line wind damage is going to be right here in this area on the west side of Georgetown, that part of the squall line where it's bowing out. And the other part of it is, well, that's not really what I wanted, but this area right, let me get back to Telestrator here, right here off to the, just to the northwest, right there where you see that little bit of a notch, that typically is sometimes where you can get a little bit of rotation. And just looking at the velocity data here, not seeing anything that really jumps out. See if there's any kind of rotation detector. Not really, but that's just something to keep in mind. But west side of Georgetown, again, it is through Versailles, and it is it's making a beeline toward the Lexington area. So Toyota, downtown Georgetown, Kentucky Horse Park, and again, it's going to cross the county line here in the next few minutes. Again, this thing's racing eastward, upwards of 60 to 65 miles per hour. So really, the issue is straight line winds, a lot of heavy rain, not seeing the lightning that we were. Because as we broaden it out, notice how the lightning strikes. Now, I've got the lightning data on. So you see a few back here with the heavier rain that is left in the wake of this, but there's not any big.
The emergency manager out of Woodford County, or the Versailles, 44 mile per hour.
So the EMA emergency manager over in Versailles reported, and I say only a 45 mile per hour wind gust, but again, the warning goes until, what is it, 1:45? Yeah, 1:45. But I think this thing's going to be through Georgetown in the next 10 to 15 minutes. So stamping ground, it's on top of you. Again, this is going to be a very, very short spell of strong to potentially damaging winds. I mean, it's only going to last probably maybe a minute, 2, 3 tops, and then you're going to be dealing with heavier rain. But it's just that leading edge. That's where the concern is.
The Ryan chart by Google, seeing a couplet in Scott County, conditions don't seem favorable for that to drop a tour there.
So it's probably, let's look at the, yeah. So looking at the velocity data, again, this shows what the winds are doing relative to the radar site. Radar site's down here in Jackson.
Which this is not Adair County, they're going to issue a tornado warning.
Okay, so yeah, that's the other part of it here. Let's look at the shear from Jackson. So it may be in that area right there. But yeah, there's not a whole lot. Again, the biggest concern here is the potential for the straight line wind damage. And again, just the line in and of itself is moving 60 to 65 miles per hour. That is enough. Obviously, that meets the criteria for a severe thunderstorm warning. So in that particular case, that was a concern all along. A squall line with damaging winds with the potential of a spin-up tornado, and unfortunately, that's our setup, and it's going to be, again, here in the Lexington metro area for the next 35 minutes until this thing rolls on through. Frankfort, it's already clear relative to the strong winds. You've just got some light to moderate rain. You've got some heavier rain, maybe a few rumbles of thunder. But really, again, the biggest concern is Georgetown, Lexington, down to Nicholasville. Anywhere here in the city of Lexington, if you're watching us right now, you need to be in your safe place. Again, the tornado threat, very, very low, but the winds are going to be strong enough with this to, again, potentially do some damage, trees, power lines down as well. We've had a number of those reports. They've been trickling in. Obviously, that takes a little while to come in.
That tornado warning down there, they included Russell County.
Well, we'll go down there and take a look at that. So in addition to what's going on here in Lexington, we've got, I had mentioned that area down around Lake Cumberland, and we'll switch over to Louisville's radar here. So you got a tornado warning down in Adair County for Columbia, and it is over toward Russell Springs as well. So it is just west of Lake Cumberland. There's Jamestown, here's Lake Cumberland over toward Somerset, Burnside area in Pulaski County, but it's for this part of the cell that's coming into southwestern Adair County. So if you're in Columbia, in Adair County, or a small part north of Russell Springs, well north of Jamestown, so it's just barely clipping that part of Russell County, you got a tornado warning until 1:45 Eastern, 12:45 Central, because there's part of that, part of Adair County, I believe, it's in the central time zone there. So looking at the shear, you got a couple little spots there. The rotation detector, it is picking up on a little bit. Nothing jumping out, although when you look at the velocity data, we're looking here, this area right here where you see the red and the green side by side, that's going toward and away from the radar. Anything in red's going away from the radar, anything in green is going toward the radar. You get those side by side. That's your general signature on radar of some rotation, albeit probably elevated given the distance from the radar, which is off to the northwest in Louisville there. But and it's just on the outer edges enough to where it looks just a little bit, I guess, more muddy than. Huh?
The winds as well, straight line winds.
Oh yeah, you've got obviously, in addition to the tornado threat, you've got the potential of some straight line wind damage there in Adair County. So if you're in Columbia, in Adair County, a small part of Russell County there as well. Again, you got a tornado warning until 1:45 Eastern, until 12:45 Central Time. So again, be in your safe place. Go to a basement. If you don't have a basement, an interior room, lowest level of your home, preferably a closet or a bathroom. So front and center here in the Lexington metro area, right on top of Georgetown, the Toyota plant as well. It's kind of blown through. And again, it's curving more so back to the southwest. So it's crossing the county line, Kentucky Castle, right up on Bluegrass Airport. I'll be interested to see here in the next couple of minutes as it rolls through the airport what the wind gust is with this, because they've got the ASOS out there out at the airport, and it's basically right on top of it right now. So the leading edge. So if you're in southwest Lexington, around Man-O-War, out Harrodsburg Road, out Versailles Road, Cardinal Valley, Garden Springs, Beaumont, out toward Boston Road, Winthrop area, Brannon Crossing, there in northern Jessamine County. This leading edge here, within the next 5, maybe 10 minutes tops, if not sooner, it's going to come rolling through. Versailles, you're in the clear. Farther north, actually let's zoom out and not in. Farther north up toward the Kentucky Horse Park, Georgetown, it's gone through the city of Georgetown. It's now into eastern Scott County. So along US 460, Centerville there in extreme western Bourbon County, it's going to come right down 460, Broadwell up towards Cynthiana, Harrison County. You're next in line coming out of Scott County. And again, I think this is the part, it's probably bowing out a little bit, so your best straight line wind potential, wind damage potential is going to be up here between Sadieville and Georgetown in eastern Scott County, moving into the western part of Harrison County and also western Bourbon County.
They added the tornado possible tag back to that severe thunderstorm warning.
So because of, again, these little kinks within the line, especially up here towards Sadieville, that little area right there, you'll get it bowing out, but you'll see a little notch here and there, and even maybe down toward the Kentucky Horse Park on the reflectivity. That sometimes in this scenario with a straight line wind damage potential, with the squall line moving through, with these scenarios, you can get a quick isolated spin up tornado. Now remember, with winds potentially 70 to 75 miles per hour, that can do enough damage to rival an EF0, very weak tornado. So this line clearly meaning business as it moves into Lexington, the metro area. Frankfort, Lawrenceburg, you're in the clear. You still got some rain around, but your severe threat's over. And that's what we're going to see. We're going to see these counties being trimmed down once this leading edge moves through. So right over Georgetown, the Toyota plant, so US 62 out US 460 to Centerville, and then farther south coming into the west side of Lexington. So we'll go in a little bit closer here. So it's over Bluegrass Airport, Cardinal Valley, around Cardinal Hill there, along Versailles Road, Garden Springs, Southland Drive, and then you get out Man of War, the Palomar area, and then around toward the Summit, Fayette Mall there, Nicholsville Road, Sunny Slope, Winthrop Drive, Wyndham Hills, those areas. It's going to be coming your way here shortly. If it's not on top of you already, wind's going to pick up pretty significantly. Again, severe thunderstorm warning. Just tuning in, maybe you're hearing the wind here in Lexington whipping up. Severe thunderstorm warning for basically all of the metro area until 1:45, so about 30 minutes here. And the northern part of the line here up into especially eastern Scott County. And I've showed this a couple times. Just notice how with the telestrator there, it's this area right here. Typically, that area you can get a quick little spin up. That's in northeastern Scott County, and it's about to move into western Harrison County, just west of Cynthiana. Let me clear that off there and take a look and see if there's any. There we go. See if there's anything on the shear. Not showing anything relative to, actually, I'm going to switch radar sources here. So yeah, that's crossing out of Scott County into western Harrison County. And again, that's the part of the line, our rotation detector not picking up on anything. Now, the velocity data, if it will come up, not really jumping out either, but again, up and down that line where you see that little bit of a kind of a notch there, or a little kink in the line itself, that's where you may get a quick little spin up here.
48 knot gust out of Lex, about 55.
So you're looking at about 55, 56 mile per hour wind gusts at Bluegrass Airport as it moves through. So that's right on the threshold for severe winds. Again, this thing's rolling right through Lexington, the west side of Lexington's inside New Circle Road. It's raining, starting to really pick up the rain downtown Lexington, but out Nicholsville Road here, out Harrodsburg Road, it's coming into your neck of the woods and then out Tates Creek Road as well. I'd give it about probably, no, it's all right. No, it's okay. It's all right. Anything in the chat? No. Nothing? Yeah, I was going to say, if you can get it on the other source, although I could probably just do it on the hand tracker here, although once I get it on there, I don't want to lose it since obviously this is coming in. So back here, maybe seeing a little, let's see if there's any hail with this. No, not really seeing any hail. Usually on the reflectivity when we got a bit of pink, that may indicate maybe some small hail, but this was never really going to be a large hail event at all. So it was always the concern for straight line winds. Again, with the radar, the line itself, it's not as pronounced coming into western Jessamine County and again, the west side of Lexington, but make no mistake, severe thunderstorm warning, 55 to 60 mile per hour winds, as Abby mentioned. We had a wind gust out of Bluegrass Airport, roughly 55, 56 miles per hour. But it's this area a little farther north of Lexington, up here coming out of Scott County into western Harrison County, west of Cynthiana. It does look like it's maybe bowing out just a bit. This area right here where it's just kind of fanning out more so and then stretching down to the southwest. That area, I think, is probably where the strongest winds are located with this squall line as it moves through, again, the Lexington metro area. Farther to the southwest, don't want to forget about Adair County moving into Russell County. Now, we'll have to watch Casey County here because they could potentially extend that tornado warning, which goes until 1:45 for Adair and a small part of Russell County. They could, if they extend it off to the northeast, then that would include Casey County and Liberty. So don't want to forget about you folks in southern Kentucky, but obviously here in Lexington, front and center is this squall line of storms, which has very little in the way of lightning with it now. And hopefully that's an indication that it is weakening a bit as it moves into the metro area. But you see some pink on the reflectivity. That indicates some very torrential rain that we've got out there right now. Again, coming in basically from downtown, out Versailles Road, out Old Frankfort Pike, Leestown Road, Georgetown Road, heavy rain. And again, this thing's going to cross right through downtown Lexington and then impact the remainder of the east side of town and the rest of Fayette County coming up here in pretty short order. But again, here in Lexington and then points to the south, that leading edge isn't as sharp on the radar as it was a little while ago, and it's definitely not as much as what we've got here, especially Connorsville, Broadville, and just west of Cynthiana, and coming up Centerville there in western Bourbon County. This part of the line is a little more concerning relative to the straight line wind damage potential, because note that sharp edge from nothing to immediately really very well defined. So if you're in Cynthiana, where again you're under severe thunderstorm warning here until 1:45, you definitely want to be in your safe place. Good news is, at least here in the metro area, knock on wood, haven't had anything in the way of any tornado warnings at all. Starting to hear the rain on the rooftop here at the ABC 36 studio that you see there on the map. And so anywhere here in Lexington for the next 15-20 minutes, you're going to get some very strong winds, a lot of heavy rain. Not much in the way of lightning and thunder with this now, but definitely some heavier rain. I don't know, Matt, if you're in the control room, if you can switch over, just punch in links to, there you go. Thank you. So here's our Hicks and Funson cam. This is a live look at the east side of Lexington. This is the Hamburg area and the Baptist Hospital here on the east side. And you see the camera lens blurring, indicating that the heavier rain is picking up. But you notice with the live cam here as well, we're not seeing a lot of lightning, and that's something that we were seeing earlier, especially back across parts of central and west central Kentucky, say along and west of the I-65 corridor. So that tells me that it's probably weakening out a bit, which of course is good news. All right, let's flip back to the other. Thank you, Matt, appreciate that. So broadening things out here. Again, this area up around Cynthiana, that's really the spot if we're going to have some issues here in the short term. I think that's going to be it between Cynthiana and running down toward Paris. But that's a pretty sharp edge just west of Cynthiana as that works off to the northeast. So that part of Harrison County into the northern part of Bourbon County, I think that's got a little better potential seeing the straight line wind damage, because you notice just in the reflectivity on the radar here, we're getting a little bit of rain here on the east side of Lexington, and we don't have that very well-defined, sharp edge that we had, say, a half hour ago as it moved through Frankfort and Lawrenceburg and down the US 127 corridor. Same thing with Harrodsburg. So that's a little better news. So hopefully that's an indication that things are beginning to weaken out a bit. Do want to switch back over to Louisville's radar because I want to revisit the tornado warning, which is still going for Adair County and a small part of Russell County here.
South that probably hasn't popped up yet for Clinton, Cumberland, and Monroe. They just did a tornado warning.
Yeah, that's just out of our viewing area.
Looks
So
like we're gonna stick with the tour for Adair and Russell.
okay, so areas here, well, actually it just popped up. So yeah, Albany, which is Clinton County, that's just out of our viewing area. But this bears watching as it moves toward Monticello and Wayne County. So southern Kentucky may end up being a little bit more of a focus here over the next little while because that area, again, has those storms moving and they've been showing some signs of rotation. Again, this cell is pretty far away from the radar site, which is all the way up in Louisville, but looking at the rotation detector, you see a little bit there between Russell Springs and Columbia. So it is showing at least elevated some signs of rotation. So next in line as it moves off to the northeast would be Casey County and Liberty. So if you're in Liberty, Casey County, that cell is going to be moving your way here shortly. So again, southern Kentucky got some concerns. So Somerset, Monticello, the Lake Cumberland area, this cluster looks like, and it has a lot more in the way of lightning in it, basically from Campbellsville stretching down again to Columbia and then over toward Monticello. And then here in Lexington, again, not a whole lot in the way of lightning. I mentioned the cell there that was just to the west of Cynthiana. Take a look at Wilmington's radar since it's a little bit closer. Pretty much the same thing. That's a pretty sharp cutoff from nothing to pretty intense rainfall, and that's an indication. And just again, with the look of it, maybe a little bit of a kink there just northwest of Cynthiana, looking at the shear, the rotation. Yeah, you see a little bit of green there. So that's what the concern is with this kind of setup. You have an intense line of thunderstorms moving in with potential for wind damage, but you can also get a quick little isolated spin up tornado. Again, this is the setup that we see during the spring severe weather season.
They dropped that to a possible tag.
They did.
And they dropped the winds down to 60.
Is that for
That warning.
for this warning here?
Yeah, they dropped it.
So they have dropped the tornado possible, which is good news, and they've dropped the potential wind gusts down to around 60 or so, which is also good. So Factoring all those things together, it is a good indication that hopefully this part of the line here, and we'll jump back over to a little better radar view here. While this is very intense coming into Cynthiana, and it will Paris, and it will Winchester, and it is Lexington right now, hopefully we're beginning to see this weaken out, at least this part of the line. Now farther south, completely different scenario, because we still have that possible rotation with the cell down there over Adair County, moving in toward Casey County. So far, they haven't extended the warning. It looks like they've got severe thunderstorm warnings out for Russell County. Nothing in Wayne County yet, but you got a tornado warning just to your west for Clinton and in part of Cumberland and Monroe counties. That is just out of our viewing area. So these cells down here, at least this part of what appears now to be kind of a broken line, it looks like the intensity is really fallen off. And so you got a bit of a split, say, between Campbellsville and then all the way up to Nicholasville, because you have nothing warned here for Harrodsburg, Danville. You're in good shape in Stanford. Yeah, you're going to see some gusty winds. You're going to see some heavy rain, get some thunder and lightning. But it's really here in Lexington, eastern Fayette County, small part of western Clark, Bourbon, part of Nicholas County, and now more so central and eastern Harrison County. That's where you've got, again, the leading edge, which compared to what you see down here on the radar in Lexington, there's nothing out ahead of it at all. So if we see the potential for damaging winds, which we are all up and down the line, I think this part of the line has the highest potential for maybe going 60, 65 plus, despite the fact that they did back it off a little bit. So, and that was the hope all along. We talked about this on Friday and a little bit earlier, at least a few hours ago on the late Sunday evening newscast. We were hoping as this got farther east and deeper into the overnight, not a lot of instability to begin with because we lost the heating of the day, but obviously the wind fields are so high that it's easy to get those winds aloft down to the surface, and that clearly happened back toward E-Town, the I-65 corridor. That was kind of the cutoff where things began to ramp down, or at least that has been the case. A lot of wind damage, trees and power lines down Hardin County, reports of, I think, a home with the roof blown off back in Hardin County, and that's when the tornado warnings were pretty numerous. That was at about 11:30 or so, so that was a couple hours ago. So hopefully we're seeing a bit of a weakening trend here. So from Cynthiana, Paris, it's on your doorstep, not to you yet, but will be within the next 5 minutes. Lexington, it's through downtown, so really out Richmond Road, out Winchester Road, out Taste Creek Road as well. These are the areas, at least here in Lexington, where we're going to see this here over the next couple of minutes.
For Wayne, Pulaski, and McCreary counties, they put out a severe thunderstorm.
All right, we'll switch.
So 2:15.
So they have just put out, and you can see it there, severe thunderstorm warning out for
60 mile per hour.
Pulaski County. Move that down until 2:15, for Wayne County until 2:15, and for McCreary County until 2:15. So with these cells in southern Kentucky, these are the ones that, again, could possibly have a spin-up tornado with them. Note the tornado warning that's still ongoing there for Adair County. We'll see if they extend that eastward into Casey County. Looking at the rest of the area, Harrodsburg, Danville, Stanford, you got some heavy rain, you got some lightning, some gusty winds, but really the most intense part of what now appears to be kind of a broken line of storms, and I think I'm going to advance the radar here just to kind of show the loop here. So here's the radar loop, and you can see what was happening earlier back here. look at all the tornado and severe thunderstorm warnings that we had along the I-65 corridor, with a number of reports of trees and power lines down. And as it has moved eastward here, it looks like it's kind of split off. We have the northern batch that's impacting Lexington up to Cynthiana and Paris. And then we have this part of the line down here around Lake Cumberland that has southern Kentucky to still move across. And so I think that's the area that we're going to have to watch pretty closely here coming up over the next hour or so. Here's the big picture. And what I think's happening is the line is much more intense across central Tennessee, and similar to what we had this past Wednesday into Thursday, the northern edge of that line has crept over the border into southern Kentucky, and that's why those storms have become a bit more intense, and they may be robbing some of the energy away from what's moving through the Lexington area right now. And then you see what is on the backside of this. Yeah, they got some snow flying in parts of Missouri, Illinois, and into Iowa, and that's how it's going to be a few hours from now. So you can see the camera jostling here, a live look with our Hicks and Funson cam here in Lexington. This is the east side, the Hamburg area, and you see it jogging. And look at temperatures. It's 56. A couple hours ago, when we were on the air, it was 68. So temperatures are dropping off, and they're going to drop even more. In fact, here, most of the area out ahead of the line of storms, still in the mid to upper 60s.
New severe thunderstorm warning for Boyle, Casey, Garrett, and Lincoln counties. It's got torr possible on it.
All right.
Wind gusts 60.
I'm going to step off and reset and go back to the radar. But wanted to give you at least, kind of an idea of what was going on. You see the wind gusts, 41 mile per hour wind gusts out of Bluegrass Airport. Still got the wind advisory until 8 a.m. And look at the difference in temperature. So you're 68 in Somerset, 41 in Evansville, and 34 in St. Louis. Those mid-30s, they will be here by the time you step out the door tomorrow morning. So that is what is on tap for the day tomorrow. So, all right, taking us back front and center, Viper radar here. We can hear the wind really beginning to whip up here at the ABC 36 studio. Well, saw a little bit of lightning. Hand tracker. We'll get the hand tracker going here, but still has a severe thunderstorm warning for about another 15 minutes for Lexington, Fayette County, but it is going to probably outrun it. By the time the warning expires, it will already be into Clark County. So let's see if we got our hand tracker working again. Yes, we do. All right. So the new severe thunderstorm warning Abby was talking about is down here. And again, it does include this cluster here that's coming out of Adair and Russell County into Casey County. That's got the potential, again, of maybe a quick little spin-up tornado there. So severe thunderstorm warnings into Lincoln County, Casey County, up into Boyle County as well. And I think Gary County, yeah, that until 2:15. So this area of southern Kentucky, again, we're really going to have to watch that closely coming up here over the next, again, 45 minutes or so. And you've got severe thunderstorm warning Somerset, Monticello, that goes until 2:15 as well. So these are storms that are attached to a line of storms that are down into central Tennessee, so that they're creeping up into our southern counties, and I actually think that is impacting what we've got going on relative to what's happening here in Lexington. So the city of Lexington, we're pretty much in the heavy rain with some gusty winds. My lovely wife just messaged me and said that the power just went out and keeps flashing, but it is back on. So We're going to see a little bit of that as well here in the Lexington area. You may see some power outages, some trees down, some power lines down, power flashing here and there. But Cynthiana, it's through you. So next in line is Carlisle, Nicholas County. Warning goes for about another 10 minutes. Highly suspect they'll end up pushing that eastward to include the rest of Nicholas County down toward Mount Sterling. Probably eastern Clark, all of Montgomery will be in there as well. Still a pretty sharp edge to this. Eastern Harrison, right through the heart of Bourbon County, coming right through downtown Paris right now, and now moving into eastern Fayette County. It's about here. You can kind of hear the wind and the rain here on the rooftop at the ABC 36 studio out here in eastern Fayette County, East Lexington. Again, stuff's just not as well defined down here just south of Lexington. You got some heavy rain, some gusty winds. Nicholasville, Richmond, you may do the old squeeze play here, but again, it's the stuff in southern Kentucky. It's doing exactly what happened last Wednesday. We had an intense squall line over central Tennessee, and the northern edge of that crept into our southern counties, and that's where we had the majority of our severe thunderstorm warnings with the event that we had back on Wednesday. It is a similar scenario. I showed you the radar loop, the regional loop, and right now there's a squall line of storms going across central Tennessee with severe thunderstorm warnings lined up along it. And so some of those are kind of bleeding northward up here into our southern counties. So Monticello, Somerset, Liberty as well. I guess they'll just hang with the severe thunderstorm warning relative to that tornado warning down there in Adair County.
Too much about it, but it's just going to move out of that warning, pretty much.
So right now, again, the area of concern is basically east of Cynthiana. It's coming up Mount Olivet in Robertson County, Carlisle in Nicholas County, North Middletown there in southeastern Bourbon County. Leading edge is through Paris, but Nicholas County running right up US 68 that takes you from Paris up Millersburg right there. It's on your doorstep. Millersburg's right there on the county line with Bourbon and Nicholas County, although it is not showing up on the map. I assure you it is there, and this squall line is going to come rolling through your neck of the woods here in the next couple of minutes. So if you're in Carlisle, hopefully you're in a safe spot because the winds are going to be pretty intense as they run through that area. Also, again, Mount Olivet in Robertson County. This is clearly very well defined and a sharp leading edge to this as it presses eastward. Little isolated cell there west of Flemingsburg, but I think this is going to be the more favored area, at least here in north central Kentucky. Lexington proper, downtown, western part of Fayette County, really basically from east side of downtown, out Tates Creek Road, Winchester Road, Richmond Road, and up Paris Pike. That part of it's still in the severe thunderstorm warning. We're in the clear otherwise. So Winchester, you're next. Paris, it's on top of you. Mount Sterling, it's going to come your way. And again, Richmond, you're kind of in that area, ironically, where it's not overly intense. Yeah, you're going to have heavy rain, some pretty gusty winds, and a little bit of thunder and lightning, but there's no very sharp, well-defined area. And again, this cluster down here, some pretty intense rainfall, much more lightning with the southern batch of storms than what we have here in the metro area right now. So looking at southern Kentucky, that's really going to be the area to watch, I think, here over the next, half hour to 45 minutes, especially in the Lake Cumberland area. So, because we still have the tornado warning just out of our viewing area over Albany and Clinton County. So heads up Monticello and Wayne County, this thing could easily sneak toward you. They could, once Jackson, because that takes it over from Louisville's warning area to Jackson's. Now, right now, there's just a severe thunderstorm warning, but that, of course, could change.
They're going to let that tornado warning in Adair and Russell County.
So they're going to let it go there in Adair and Russell County. So it looks like, so there's kind of the big picture right now of where we're at for the entire area. So we've got a section of what is really kind of a broken line of thunderstorms that's moving through central Kentucky. It's just basically cutting across I-75. The northern part of it here, that's running toward Carlisle, and eventually it'll go over toward Flemingsburg. That has some decent damaging wind potential. And then you've got the area down here in southern Kentucky that has intensified. It's the northern edge of a squall line that extends down into central Tennessee, and there's a number of severe thunderstorm warnings. In fact, it's too far away from the radar to pick up on it, but you see those lined up across central Tennessee. So these are sneaking up into southern Kentucky. So if you're anywhere there in southern Kentucky, London, Somerset, Williamsburg, Monticello, basically the same areas that saw it back on Wednesday. It's literally a similar scenario. So given the fact that the tornado warning is being allowed to expire, we are clearing this through Lexington. The worst of it is through the city proper. We don't have any tornado warnings, and have we gotten any wind damage reports at all other than the 56, which wasn't a damage report, mind you, but yeah, so there's nothing in the chat. So what we're going to do at this point, since we don't have any tornado warnings, we're going to send you back to programming. We're going to reset, try to get a little bit more info. Crawl system will take over relative to the severe thunderstorm warnings. But if you're in Carlisle, if you're in Mount Sterling, if you're in Winchester, you're not in warnings now, but you will be here shortly. I highly suspect, especially up Carlisle, Flemingsburg as well, Mount Sterling, that's Jackson's County warning area. Highly suspect, given the look of the radar there, that's intense enough. They'll still kick some warnings eastward here. So this area definitely heads up, be in your safe place, and we'll keep a close eye on southern Kentucky relative to the storms down there. But for now, we'll send you back to regular programming. If we get a tornado warning down, especially in southern Kentucky, where that appears to be the area that has the highest potential for that. Again, straight line wind damage potential anywhere as this thing moves into eastern Kentucky. We will cut back in, but we'll have the crawl system up, and of course look for your county up there for any warnings, and of course keep those phones on, keep them charged, keep the alerts on as well. But we will keep you updated. Keep it right here on ABC 36 for your latest updates. I'm Chief Meteorologist T.G. Shuck once again, ABC 36 Storm Team Weather Center, joined by meteorologist Ashley Cade and meteorologist Abby Summers, all in here tonight tracking the severe weather moving across central and now southern Kentucky. And if you were watching a bit ago, talked about coming back on in the event we needed to, and we do, because we've got a tornado warning now for Wayne County until 2:15, so that's about 25 minutes from now. Possible tornado here. You see the very intense reflectivity. Anytime you see that pink or darker shading, that's an indication of a pretty strong cell. It is just to the southwest of Monticello. So if you're in Wayne County, if you're in central and south central and eastern Wayne County, you need to go to a basement. If you don't have a basement, go to an interior room. Lowest level of your home, preferably a closet or a bathroom. You want to put as much room between yourself and the outside world. Get away from exterior windows and walls. If you live in a multi-floor residence, you want to go down, not up. Because again, this cluster, really kind of a broken line of thunderstorms, which is kind of broken off, or at least it's attached to an intense squall line that's moving across parts of central Tennessee, has moved up into southern Kentucky. And the irony of this is exactly what happened last Wednesday. We had a similar scenario with a strong cold front moving in from the west. We had some activity in Tennessee creep into our southern counties, and we had a number of severe thunderstorm warnings in this same area, including Wayne County. So Monticello, Eadsville, Delta, Kids Crossing. It's right over the Susie area. Now, looking at the velocity data, which shows you what the winds are doing relative to the radar site, it would be probably in this area right around Susie there, which is southwest of Monticello. As far as the rotation detector, you see a little bit of green there, not far from Susie, but again, the algorithm isn't jumping out significantly. But also, you got to remember the radar's at the ground and the beam's aloft, so it's shooting relatively high up in this particular cell. So, but obviously, the Weather Service in Jackson seeing enough rotation out of this to issue, again, this tornado warning for Wayne County until 2:15. Now, farther north, you've got severe thunderstorm warnings for Somerset, also up into western Rockcastle County, northern Pulaski County, and I don't believe, Lincoln County's in that until 2:15. So really, and we mentioned it earlier, it's now basically south of Lexington between Danville and Lancaster, coming up on Stanford, Liberty. You're in the clear, so to speak, not literally, but more figuratively. And then all this is south of Lake Cumberland. But just as far as the reflectivity goes, you can see just how much stronger that part of the line is southwest of Monticello, where you see that pink and even some darker shading. There may be a bit of hail in it. In fact, there is. You see the hail tracker indicating maybe some nickel, dime to nickel-sized hail with this. So this is part of, again, a squall line of storms that has developed and moved across and is currently moving across east central Tennessee, and a few of those cells have crept up into our southern counties, and they are pretty intense. And even outside of the tornado warning polygon, just southeast of Russell Springs, right over Lake Cumberland, southwest of Somerset, the pink there, maybe a bit of hail, but you got a lot more lightning with these southern Kentucky cells than what we've had here in the Bluegrass region. Of course, here in Lexington, that cluster moved through, and it still is. We've still got some heavy rain here in the Lexington area, but this is going to be the area of concern here over the next probably 45 minutes to an hour. Monticello, be in your safe place. Again, tornado warning until 2:15, so it's 1:53, so we've got about another 22 minutes or so, and this thing is going to rotate northeastward. So it looks like areas, southern Pulaski County, looks like the northern part of McCreary County, probably north of Whitley City, maybe up toward Stearns, I believe, up US 27. It's essentially at least the most intense part of this cluster, or at least this kind of broken line of thunderstorms, is going to run up right over Lake Cumberland toward Burnside there, Braunston, and then the south side of Somerset. Just basically the orientation and how these things are rotating up out of northern Tennessee. So anywhere in this area, just kind of a heads up, Somerset, Lake Cumberland, even though you're not in the tornado warning, Monticello, it is literally just kind of right on your doorstep. And again, it's shooting pretty high up in the actual cell, but obviously Jackson has mentioned seeing enough potential rotation out of that to prompt the tornado warning. So there's Monticello, basically along Kentucky 90. Kentucky 90, of course, runs out of Monticello, and that runs you up to Lake Cumberland and up the Burnside there south of Somerset into Pulaski County. That cell's rotating just right toward Monticello, the county seat of Wayne County, and that's where the most intense part of that cell is. So if you're in Eadsville, if you're in Mill Springs there on the south side of Lake Cumberland, the Delta area of northern Wayne County, any of these areas, you need to be in your safe place as we speak. You see some of the deeper red there. Again, the velocity data, which shows what the winds are doing relative to the radar site, nothing jumping out. Although with our rotation detector, it is the algorithm right here in this area, the lighter green. It's showing some moderate spin aloft, so that's where the possible tornado is, and it updates, kind of lost it a little bit there, but right there along Kentucky 90, and there's Monticello, and then it runs you up just right on the south side of the lake there, and eventually takes you up toward Pulaski County. So until 2:15, tornado warning continues. We got a little bit of hail with it as well per the hail tracker. There you go. You can see the 1 hour history. Also farther north, outside of the tornado warning, we got severe thunderstorm warnings for, again, fairly good chunk. Let me broaden this out here. So you can see how intense that is over Wayne County, and then it stretches down into east central Tennessee. So you see it lined up. Obviously the reflectivity is not going to show up because it's so far away, but you have severe thunderstorm warnings just basically all up and down the squall line of storms through central, moving rapidly into east central Tennessee. Knoxville, it's still away from there, but it's obviously rotated into our southern counties. So pretty intense rainfall, and again, some gusty to potentially damaging winds. Somerset, not yet, but I'd say within the next 10 to 15 minutes, it's over Stanford and Lincoln County there. Danville, you got some thunder and lightning. And even Berea and Richmond, you've kind of managed to avoid it as the northern area of rain and storms move through Lexington. And notice how it's more just general rain and storms here in the Lexington area. All the warnings have been allowed to expire. This part up here, Maysville to Flemingsburg, no warning out on it, but wouldn't be surprised. And you have Fleming County, which falls under Jackson's responsibility, and Mason County, which is Wilmington, Ohio. So split offices there. We'll see what they inevitably end up doing. But again, here in the Bluegrass region and points eastward along I-64, at least a bit of good news is that the intensity is really, really much less than it was an hour and definitely a couple of hours ago. When this thing was back along the I-65 corridor, man, it was really kicking out the tornado warnings, a number of reports of trees and power lines down, some structural damage in Hardin County as well. And it's played out about as anticipated. The level 3 came into our western viewing area, level 2 here in the Bluegrass, and farther east to level 1. And so I think as we get deeper into the early hours of this Monday, hopefully that weakening trend will continue. But you got to remember with this system, the wind fields are very, very strong. Obviously, you know, if you're out at all Sunday, we had gusts 40, 45, 50 miles per hour. And so even though we don't have the instability, the good instability to keep these storms strong like we would, especially if they were during the peak heating of the afternoon, that's why many times we don't have these overnight events, because we lose the instability and a lot of the storm energy. But the wind fields are just so high in this particular case, it has enabled these storms to basically maintain their strength over the course of the last few hours now as we hit 2 a.m. Eastern time. But still got the tornado warning down in Wayne County there in southern Kentucky. I'm assuming, Abby, we have seen nothing in the way of reports. Ashley as well, nothing, which is expected, because again with this type of setup, you generally, it takes a little while if you get any kind of damage reports. It takes a little while for those to trickle in. But good news relative to when this stuff moved through at least the Bluegrass region and the metro area, other than the 56 mile per hour wind gusts out of Bluegrass Airport, haven't gotten any damage reports from the Weather Service in Louisville. Now, the cell is through Monticello and it's moving into eastern Wayne County there. So Delta, Kids Crossing as well, east of Monticello, this area, and also a small part west of Whitley City, west of the US 27 corridor, small part of McCreary County here over the county line in that tornado warning there until 2:15. So don't want to forget about that part of McCreary County. It's mainly Wayne County, but we got about 15 minutes until this thing eventually will rotate off to the northeast. As it gets up toward Alpine, Burnside, that's in southern Pulaski County and basically right over the heart of Lake Cumberland, which is Mill Springs, Deviney, Naomi area, out of Russell County into southern Pulaski in the northern part of Wayne County, right over the lake right now. It's pretty intense. A lot of lightning with this, especially with the cell down there. Check the rotation detector. Again, there's a couple little spots, but nothing overly strong. Generally, when we have good rotation with some of these potentially tornadic cells, you'll get a smaller spot of green, and you'll get a little bit of a red in it as well when it's pretty well defined. But again, the algorithm isn't picking up on anything overly intense. So again, at this point, it's more of kind of a wait and see. Now, the leading edge of this, even beyond the tornado threat, is apt to create some wind gusts in excess of 60, 65 miles per hour through the eastern part of Wayne County and coming into the western part of McCreary County and eventually over toward Whitley City there along the US 127 corridor. So this is going to be the area, McCreary County through Whitley and then up toward Corbin, London, Laurel County, Laurel Lake there. Again, ironically, the exact same areas that we had severe thunderstorm warnings with a similar scenario this past Wednesday. An intense squall line or intense strong front moved through with a pretty intense cluster or squall line of storms across southern Kentucky. We had a few wind damage reports, winds in excess of 45 to 50 miles per hour just in general with these storms with some higher gusts. And then we had colder air plunging in. That's what's happening now early on this Monday morning. So this is really going to be, I think, the area of concern here will be across our southern counties here over the next hour or two. The hope is that we get a little bit of weakening, excuse me, as we get a little deeper into the overnight. Sorry, I got choked. It happens. So here in Lexington, ironically, we've got more lightning strikes right now here in Lexington with just the cluster that we have overhead than we did when the actual line moved through a little while ago. So it's just heavy rain, a little bit of lightning, no big major issues. Good news, doesn't look like anything too well defined. A little concern, ironically, right on cue about no severe thunderstorm warning for Mason County or Lewis County, and there it is. So Mason County, Lewis County, that goes until 2:45, so about 40 minutes there. So that's going to run Maysville on the AA highway over to Vanceburg. Looks like close to Tollsboro. Ironically, Fleming County not in it, but Flemingsburg, and then up into Mason County. That's pretty well defined as far as a sharp leading edge. So I think we'll see some wind gusts in excess of 60 miles per hour potentially there. But again, more of the area of concern is down here in southern Kentucky, basically from south of Berea, really the west side of Somerset. You're under severe thunderstorm warning. but again, you've got a fairly sharp edge from 0 to 60, literally and figuratively here, with wind gusts potentially 60 miles per hour. So right along US 127, from basically Waynesburg there, just on the other side of the county line there in Lincoln County, through Science Hill, Somerset, down to Burnside. This stuff's going to come running your way here in the next 5 or 10 minutes. Monticello, you're in the clear relative to the tornado warning and really the severe thunderstorm warning for that matter, because you see the intense rainfall. As far as hail goes, see if we've still got a little hail in it. Yeah, maybe some dime-sized hail out of it, just given the fact that the algorithm's picking up on it, and the rotation detector still showing. Again, that may be more straight line wind damage than anything else. And then they've extended the severe thunderstorm warning to the areas that literally were just mentioning.
It's got the tornado possible tag.
Yeah, so I think what Jackson's going to do here, since they haven't gotten any reports, confirmations, sightings of possible tornado, they have issued severe thunderstorm warnings downstream here. So you've got Rockcastle County, eastern and southeastern Pulaski County, central and western Laurel County, all of Whitley County, and the rest of McCreary County until 2:45. You've got a severe thunderstorm warning with a possible tornado tag. So this is a pretty intense squall line of storms that's running from southern Lincoln County through west central Pulaski County and now coming out of eastern Wayne County into western McCreary County. And this is apt to do potentially some wind damage with winds in excess of 60 miles per hour. So if you're really anywhere from Somerset over to London, down to Corbin, down to Williamsburg, Laurel Lake, US 27, from Whitley City up through Stearns to Burnside to Somerset, again, you're looking at the potential of some wind damage, and you're under a severe thunderstorm warning with the possible tornado tag along with that until 2:45. I did notice there that they did take part of Wayne County, including Monticello, out of it. So this is the part of the cell where you see the rotation detector right here, which is basically between Whitley City and Monticello. It's about, well, there's the county line right there. It's in extreme eastern Wayne County and actually about to jump into McCreary County. It's right kind of straddling the county line right there. So, but no reports from Jackson. The velocity data, again, remember this is elevated, so you're a few thousand feet up. The beam's at the surface, farther away you get the farther away from the radar you get, the beam goes aloft. So it's this area right here where the reds and the greens are side by side. It's literally there along the county line with McCreary and Wayne County. That's where the circulation is. Green is going toward the radar site, which is up here in Jackson. Red is going away. You get those side by side. That's your broad rotation. That's where your potential tornado would be relative to the tornado warning polygon that we've got there in the eastern sections of and I'm laughing because I'm getting rained on at the key wall. So, you know, yeah, little leaky roof. It happens. So there was a 54 mile per hour wind gust at the airport in Monticello as this squall line moved through. And that's what's pressing eastward here. We've got about another 5 minutes until the tornado warning expires.
Issued a new
Oh yeah, new tornado warning, yeah, I see it. So.
I reached out and asked them their thoughts, and they said until they
So Ashley telling me that being in contact with the Weather Service in Jackson, they're still seeing enough broad rotation with this cell because it's so far. Remember, I talked about the elevation with the radar being at the ground and the beam shooting higher up in the storm, the farther away you get away from the radar. And again, Wayne County and this area of Lake Cumberland, kind of on the outer edge relative to the radar site. So to that end, we've got new tornado warnings out for southern Pulaski County, for northern and central McCreary County, for northern Whitley County, and for southwestern Laurel County until 2:45. That does include Corbin. It's all the way up to the south side of London. So if you're in London, if you're in Corbin, if you're waking up, your phone's going off for tornado warning, you're in southwestern Laurel, northwestern Whitley, central northern McCreary, or southeastern Pulaski County, you're under a tornado warning until 2:45.
Jackson said they kind of saw that couplet cycling, so you kind of saw that shear and then it went down.
Yeah, so evidently that little couplet that have been showing you with the velocity data here, and again, it's very, very broad, the greens and the reds toward and away from the radar. Our rotation detector, I think what it's picking up on, what they're seeing and what the algorithm is, it's this area right here, which is in between Burnside and Whitley City. Here's US 27. I think I'll zoom in a little bit. I think Stearns is right there in that area. Let me clear that as to not confuse you. So where you see the green, that's where you've got some moderate rotation aloft, and it's west of US 27. So it's between Alpine and Whitley City, and then over toward the Honeybee area, which is in northeastern McCreary County. There's Laurel Lake. Move it over a little bit. So there's your rotation, and putting the actual reflectivity back on. Burnside, you've got torrential rain, some very, very strong winds. Alpine, it's coming your way. But I really think it's this area right there just off to the east of Delta, off to the northwest of Whitley City. That's going to be the area that they're really concentrating on. And again, just given the fact and just looking at the regular velocity here, it would be in this area where you see, well, just updated there. So it would be in this area again, not far from Alpine there. And you notice our rotation detector, it's not a small circular spot. It's kind of elongated and broad, and that tells me that the radar is trying to ping on some broad rotation, but there's nothing well defined. But obviously, given the potential of straight line wind damage with winds in excess of 60 miles per hour, that's a given. But the potential of maybe a quick spin up tornado dropping in this area, the Weather Service in Jackson's elected to go ahead and extend that tornado warning for another half hour until 2:45. So it does include Corbin, just north of Rockholds there in Whitley County, Laurel Lake. And again, ironically, Pine Grove, Lilly, the area, and this is nothing comparable to what we had last May with the damaging tornado that moved across Laurel and Pulaski counties. Yes, you're in the tornado warning, but those are some obviously familiar communities from that event that we worked that night back in May of last year. But again, this is a completely different animal. It's really a straight line wind threat and concern even more so than the possible tornado threat. But again, there's just enough broad rotation, and it is aloft, it's elevated. It's a pretty good ways away from the radar, which is over in Jackson. You see the beam going by there. So you're probably shooting a few thousand feet up in this. And just given the fact that just the orientation of the line would lend itself to the potential of a quick little spin-up tornado. This is a scenario that we see every spring, year after year. Doesn't matter whether it's middle of the afternoon or occasionally these overnight early morning events that we end up seeing a squall line of storms move through, with damaging winds being the main threat, and we get a quick little spin-up tornado, and that's what we've got down south.
51-mile-an-hour wind gusts in Somerset.
So Somerset just reported a 51-mile-per-hour wind gust. So that right there shows you that this line means business as it moves through southern Pulaski, northern McCreary, eventually into northwestern Whitley and the southwestern part of Laurel County. So we'll zoom in just a little closer here. So ironically, these are some of the areas that we called out last May. Mount Victory. Now remember, this whole area through here around Mount Victory, between Mount Victory and Pine Grove, that's Daniel Boone National Forest. And remember, a lot of that was laid flat by the May tornado. So that's a very rural and very low populated area once you get into eastern Pulaski and western part of Laurel County there. But Mount Victory down toward Honeybee, it's right over Alpine now. Ruth, which is just to the east of Somerset. Again, this leading edge, 51-mile-per-hour wind gust in Somerset, and what was it, Abby, in Monticello, 54. So this thing's had a history of producing winds in excess of 50 miles per hour. Now, we saw gradient winds that strong today or yesterday, Sunday, and actually a couple of times over the last week. And there, you can get some damage with that. Let me just show you the loop here to just kind of show you where we are, and then we'll jump back to the radar in a minute. So earlier, the atmosphere and the dynamics much more conducive, as expected, along the I-65 corridor. You can see all the severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings and a number of trees and power lines down back that way as it moved into the Lexington area. We had severe thunderstorm warnings. Luckily, we haven't had many, if any, reports of wind damage yet. We've got the severe thunderstorm warning from Mason into Lewis County, I think until 2:45. And what's happened is, if you just happen to be tuning in, southern Kentucky, London, Corbin, parts of Whitley, southern Pulaski County as well, wondering what's happening. You got a squall line of storms going across central Tennessee. Bigger view here. Here's the big picture of everything. I mean, look at that intense line of storms moving through central Tennessee, and the northern edge of that has crept up into southern Kentucky, and there's some possible rotation within that line of storms, and that's what's prompted the tornado warning for a few counties in southern Kentucky. And you see how the severe thunderstorm warnings are pretty much just lined up along that squall line as it moves toward Knoxville. And it looks like the Weather Service there in Morristown, which covers Knoxville, is issuing that well ahead of the game. So that shows you what's happening now. And you look back to the northwest and look at the snow flying across parts of Illinois into Iowa and Missouri. That's what you will step out to here in a few hours. We're looking at temperatures falling off significantly. In fact, here's a live look at our Hicks and Funson cam here in Lexington. This is the east side. We have steady rain. We got some thunder and lightning here and there, and it is 56 degrees. So it has dropped off very, very quickly. In fact, look at eastern Kentucky. You're still in the mid to upper 60s where it is yet to rain. Where it has, you drop into the 50s. Farther west you go, it drops even more. 62-mile-per-hour wind gusts in Somerset. Look at that. There you go. Look at the map. So we'll see if that verifies, but that goes to show you that that activity down south. Gradient winds still up overnight, rest of this morning now, probably 30 to 40, so the wind advisory stays put. Latest temperatures probably changed. It's dropped in Somerset, but top of last hour it was 68, down to 49 in Louisville, down to 39 in Evansville, and then in the mid-30s back across the St. Louis area, and that's, again, where we will be. So we're going to go from spring to winter in a hurry. We just got to get through the rest of the morning here over the next few hours. It looks like the tornado watch, they're also trimming that down as well. So let me go back to the radar, and yeah, we've got more thunder and lightning here in Lexington now than we did before. All right, so want to take over? Sure. So I'm going to pass the baton to meteorologist Ashley Cade, who will be obviously taking you through the rest of the morning. And she's going to take over as the tornado warning continues for northern McCreary, northwestern Whitley, southwestern Laurel, and southeastern Pulaski until 2:45. So we got about 22 or 3 minutes to go. Ashley?
Yeah, and we just saw that got a 57-mile-an-hour wind gust report in Wayne County as well. So still seeing this storm having that history, continuing to have those winds in excess, as TG said earlier, of 50 miles an hour. So very strong winds, even outside of this tornado warning, which we still had. So we're going to continue to watch. And I think really the area we're looking at is this kind of little notch that we're getting right in here, kind of moving throughout central Kentucky. So we're going to start to see that getting into Corbin here soon. And
working?
Yeah, we got it working. Yeah, we'll zoom out and get a look at that line as it's been moving through. Still seeing that severe thunderstorm warning as well. So going to continue to track that through the morning. If you are just now getting up and joining us, I am ABC 36 Storm Team Meteorologist Ashley Cade. Take it over for TG here as we get into these early morning hours. I mean, man, this has just been a very strong line of storms that has been moving through all throughout this morning and into those overnight hours. Sunday, I mean, even my friends back in Missouri saw this line of storms, and they saw hail, they saw the excess or the high winds, and they even saw some snow afterwards, and we're going to get that here soon. But right now we're still just dealing with this line of some thunderstorms. So we have some pretty decent lightning along with this storm as well. Earlier, kind of as it was moving through Lexington, we didn't see a whole lot. Now we're kind of getting that to uptick a little bit, which does kind of show me we're still seeing this continuing on with that intensity that it's kind of had, and maybe just starting to weaken a little bit, especially further up north, where I think you can really tell. I mean, this is definitely not as defined up near Richmond and Lexington as opposed to where we have it down south here near Somerset and Williamsburg. So we still see that tornado warning kind of getting shaved off here for Laurel County, seeing that. We're going to continue to be tracking that. So let's zoom in a little bit here into where we're kind of seeing that moving through. Not quite into Corbin or London just yet. Still off just to the east of Burnside, east of Somerset. Somerset, Burnside, you're now kind of in the clear. Once you get behind this main line of that heavy downpours and those heavy winds, your severe threat pretty much over. That's why we've continued to see us shaving off those tornado watches, shaving off those severe thunderstorm warnings, because once that line passes you, you might still get some torrential downpours, you might still get some thunder and some lightning. We've still got that here at the station. We've been hearing that pretty continuously, but that severe threat really is going to be over for us. So we'll get a check here of that kind of shear indicator. And I mean, we're still seeing a little bit, we get a little bit of that green in there. That's where we're kind of looking for that rotation to get picked up by the radar. It's not as impressive. But what we have to remember is, I mean, we're kind of measuring this all the way from that radar out in Jackson. So we're still quite a ways away. So that radar beam scanning pretty high up in the atmosphere, not going to be able to get a whole lot of detail there. So it's a little tell, and I think that's part of why we're seeing Jackson, the Weather Service office there, continuing on with this tornado warning, kind of out of maybe an abundance of caution. Not necessarily a bad idea though, for sure, because I mean, when you're so far away, if you get just those little areas of broad rotation, very possible that you get those quick spin up tornadoes. So if you're down here in Whitley County, Laurel County, make sure that you are getting into your safe space, interior building on a lower level, a basement, best place possible. If you're going to be heading out on the road here soon, maybe starting to get into work. I know it's a little bit early, but some of us, like myself, have to head out there pretty early. If you are in Whitley County or London County out ahead of this warning, maybe consider delaying that until that line of storms gets past you, because definitely going to be dangerous to be driving through even without that tornado warning. I mean, those winds that we've seen near 60 miles an hour in some places, it's not the best of driving conditions, and those torrential downpours. I mean, we've got some of those areas where we're seeing those pinks getting in here. As I mentioned earlier, scanning really high up into those storms. So we got to take this with a little grain of salt, but still, when we start to get those pinks in there with those DBZ values, the intensity of that rain that's falling. I mean, you might even start to be getting into maybe a little bit of hail, maybe not necessarily falling to the surface. Possible though that perhaps we're getting some of that pea-sized hail, but just torrential downpours, a lot of rain with this system and a lot of those heavy rains. And part of the reason why we're seeing this staying fairly strong as you head further to the south, as opposed to being a little bit more messy and kind of spread out as you go further north. I mean, look at the the kind of where we have it set up. Here we've got this line, and you can kind of see it's tilted a little bit towards me. So that orientation, not quite as favorable to get those quick spin up tornadoes. A lot of that wind likely has kind of outrun the storms, so to say, up further to the north, but a little bit further to the south, we've got it tilted a bit more away from me, or kind of this little bowing section. When you get that to really make that kind of bowing line right there, that's when you can get those really strong winds. We've got them very likely pushing out, and I would not doubt that we're still continuing to see maybe those 50, 60 mile an hour wind gusts coming out of this. So continuing to make sure that we get into those safe spaces. Still not quite seeing that into London just yet. We'll zoom in here, maybe try and see a little bit closer of where we're getting that in. So Mount Victory, very likely getting some heavy rainfall, maybe even a little bit of pea-sized hail there. I would not be shocked to see that. Yeah, I mean, we're getting some of those light pinks in there for that hail. So it's possible that we've had that coming through. This is our 1 hour hailfall. And I mean, you can tell this section of the storm, as it's been pushing to the northeast, has had that history of, maybe producing a little bit of that light pea-sized hail, because we've had such strong kind of signals from that radar scanning high up into the storm. So maybe seeing a little bit of that there. We'll go ahead and check that shear value now. I mean, not much popping up just yet. I mentioned earlier, I think a lot of Jackson's reasoning behind keeping this warning in, which I was kind of in contact with them earlier and was talking about them with this. It's just that we're scanning so high up. We've got that broad area of rotation that we're watching. So just wanting to make sure that we are being safe. So Corbin, make sure you're in your safe areas, maybe even a little bit into London as well. Looking like that tornado warning cutting just through the middle of it, south and southeastern portions of London, Pine Grove, Lily, near Laurel Lake, Mount Victory, Youngs Creek, all making sure that you're getting into those safe spaces. Honeybee, you're likely in the clear now, probably still seeing some lightning, hearing that thunder, getting that heavy rainfall, but the majority of that is past you.
So evidently some tree down on a garage in Burnside in southern Pulaski County.
Oh yeah, so TG just said would tree down on a garage.
Yeah. Burnside, south side of Lake Cumberland.
the south side of Lake Cumberland. So, I mean, yeah, that just goes to show you how strong those winds are as they're moving through. I mean, that's pretty decent wind damage that we're getting reported from Burnside, that tree down on a garage on a car. So, yeah, make sure you're in your safe space, even outside of this tornado warning where we just have that severe thunderstorm. Is very strong winds in this section that we've got bowing out here. So we're going to want to make sure. Safe spot, lowest area, interior room as we go throughout this. And we still have that severe thunderstorm warning for large portions of south central Kentucky up near Williamsburg, includes London as well. And then we're tracking that tornado warning. So lots to look at as we go throughout this morning. Let's go further up to the north as well. Just a little check in there. I mean, still not seeing much. We've dropped a lot of those severe thunderstorm warnings. Don't have any kind of tornado warnings anymore. I mean, this part of the storm, it's just really falling apart. I mean, definitely still seeing that lightning in there, still seeing that heavy rainfall, but it's a lot more spread out. It's a bit messier. You know, we start to get some of these storms popping up out ahead of that line. I would not be shocked if the kind of gust front, those winds may be starting to outrun itself a little bit further to the north. That's kind of what I'm seeing indicated here almost. Do still have maybe a severe thunderstorm warning far to the north, starting to get into southern Ohio, but not necessarily for us here in the bluegrass. Mainly what we're looking at, we're continuing to track that tornado warning further to the south where we still have that segment of the storm. Continuing to stay put together, stay a little bit stronger, and still seeing that area of broad rotation. I would be willing to bet that what Jackson is looking at here with this tornado warning, although it is very broad, probably looking at this area right here where you start to kind of get that little notch in as that rotates kind of into the storm. So that broad rotation is the area that we're watching. That's where we're going to be possibly seeing a quick spin up tornado kind of being put down there, watching for that possibility. This is a radar indicated tornado warning. I mean, of course, it's dark outside. We've got a lot of rain with these, so it's going to be something that's hard to spot. So even if it's, you know, we don't necessarily know if we have that tornado on the ground, very important that you make sure you're in your safe space and that you're not out driving into this, almost getting into Laurel Lake right just to your west. Going to start to see that moving in. Corbin maybe starting to see some light rain now. I bet those winds probably picking up. That's what we saw here in Lexington as that was moving through. I went outside to kind of watch it move in. Youngs Creek going to be getting some of that heavy rain here soon, likely seeing those winds starting to arrive, maybe a little bit of hail as well. And if you are seeing anything like hail, wind damage, you can always reach out to me, meteorologist Abby Summers, meteorologist TG Shuck, and send us those photos or send us those damage reports, because that is very helpful to us and also to the National Weather Service to kind of get a little bit of a better idea of what's going on. Looking like Bald Rock, you're kind of just past that main line of storms, likely in the clear now. And man, I mean, just getting those pink DBZ values in. A very strong and intense portion of this line of thunderstorms that we've continued to see pretty much all throughout the overnight and into the morning hours. And even behind that, still continuing with that lightning, that heavy rain. I mean, it's not going to move out of here for quite a while, even once we're past this initial line. Going to continue to see that rain and then eventually going to see that switching into snow. Not necessarily looking forward to be tracking that as we go throughout this morning. But it just is what it is. We're going to be very quickly transitioning from spring right now, where we're seeing those severe thunderstorm warnings, and then going into winter as we go later on. So of kind of that shear. I mean, still not seeing a whole lot pinging in here. That to me is some good news. You know, maybe seeing this start to weaken a little bit, maybe starting to see it cycling. That's what the Jackson, the Weather Service office was talking about earlier. We had a little bit of weakening before we started to get some of those kind of shear values pinging up yet again. Might be seeing the same thing, but I'm kind of starting to notice, I mean, just like we saw further up north, we're starting to get a few of those storms popping up a little bit out ahead of that. So hoping that that can kind of indicate that maybe we're getting a little bit of some weakening there. And it looks like we did just get a severe thunderstorm warning that popped up for this section of the line further to the north. Okay, all of
Area
southwestern.
that has not been touched by any storms yet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's up on two, just so you can kind of see.
Okay, yeah. So anywhere out and basically along and out ahead of that line of storms. A severe thunderstorm watch now. Still holding on to a tornado watch for a few counties, but most of those counties now outside of that kind of severe threat. So we're continuing to see, is there any kind of like TOR possible tag on that severe thunderstorm? Just winds? Okay. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. That's the reason why we're seeing that pop up. So no tornado possible tags on that, which is good news for us. The main area where we're still watching for that rotation, going to be far southern Kentucky.
There was a wind report out of the Lake Cumberland, Pulaski County of 62 miles per hour.
62-mile-an-hour reports from near Lake Cumberland down in Pulaski County. So just going to show you, we still have that very strong section. I mean, this whole line of storms, very strong. That's why we just got that new severe thunderstorm warning put out, but especially further to the south, still put together. Winds higher than 60 miles an hour. We're continuing to see that as it pushes through. So we'll go ahead and head back over to Jackson, that Jackson radar. And we'll take a look at that shear value. Still not seeing much picking up there, which is good news for us.
They just trimmed that warning.
Yeah, they really did just trim that warning down. So yeah, that's good news to me. That's really indicating that maybe they'll extend that warning out as an abundance of caution, but for the most part, it really looks like that line of storms kind of not seeing that notch as defined in there. That's where we get that little spin up tornado where you can track it kind of pushing in a little bit into the line of storms. Not seeing that as much anymore. Now, I have pointed out we're quite a bit of ways away from that radar, so it's scanning really high up, not to get a lot of detail in there. So maybe if they extend that tornado warning out, could potentially see it happen because of, you know, an abundance of caution, but they've trimmed that. Zoom in here. Corbin, almost going to be getting into you. Pine Grove, starting to probably see some light rain now. Probably starting to see some of that wind arriving in. Looking like Laurel Lake, you've got some of that heavier rain over you, maybe even a little bit of pea-sized hail as well. We're starting to get those pink DBZ values over you, those pink rainfall rates. That's where we could maybe see enough of that energy and intensity to that storm to maybe get some of that hail. But now Youngs Creek, you're outside of that tornado warning on the back half of this line of storms. You're in the clear. Same for down near Redbird, Williamsburg, and Rockholds, all outside of that tornado warning, and all in the clear for that spin up tornado. Now, you're not necessarily in the clear for the severe threat in general, because we do still see that severe thunderstorm warning for southeastern Kentucky. Still for those winds in excess of 50, 60-mile-an-hour gusts, and that's enough to do some damage. We have had those reports of trees falling over. It's been a pretty decent line of storms as it's been moving through. So there's that kind of radar loop of where we've seen those tornado warnings, this storm having that history of producing those quick spin up tornadoes, of producing those wind gusts that have been quite high and damaging. So we're continuing to track that here through these early morning hours, making sure that we get into that safe space, especially for far southeastern Kentucky, where we are still continuing to track that area of maybe some broad rotation. And we'll head a little bit further down here. I mean, yeah, still really not seeing much, which again, that's not bad news. That's good news for us as we head into this early morning hour, not even picking up on much. I'm seeing, you know, a little bit of that shear going further to the north here, trying out that hand tracker, maybe not wanting to work with me. There we go. So where we've got this kind of line of those shear values, that green, even starting to pick up a little bit of that red here between Irvine and Blanton Flats. I mean, you got those very strong straight line winds. That's what we're looking at up here, just to the east of Richmond, east of Bucky's now. That's where we've got those severe thunderstorm warnings that have been extended for those wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour, maybe even going to see them a little bit higher, especially where we've got those shear values that are quite impressive, or not anything too crazy. Pretty decent though for us. So yeah, there's that line, still continuing to see that moving. And behind that line, you're in the clear for that severe weather threat. Very likely still seeing that thunder and lightning. So I would continue to use caution as maybe you're getting up, getting ready to start your day. If you are, and you're behind this line, this initial line, you'll want to watch for things, you know, like maybe ponding, hydroplaning. So make sure you use caution for that. Then out ahead where we've got this line, I mean, we've now seen those yellow boxes extending basically from north to south, just a little bit of a gap here, but for the most part, the entirety of this line of storms warned for those severe thunderstorm warnings. And the main reason for that is those winds going to be up to 50, 60, 70, even mile an hour wind gusts possible. Still seeing this tornado warning as well further south, just south of London, continuing to track that, almost outrunning that tornado warning. We're starting to get there.
They issued a severe thunderstorm warning out ahead of that.
Yeah. So is the thought there?
They're going to let it go.
Okay.
But if it cycles, they'll
Yep. That makes
issue
sense.
another one.
So the National Weather Service in Jackson, kind of not seeing, as we've been tracking, you know, with those shear values especially, not seeing necessarily a whole lot of that broad rotation anymore. So they are going to let that tornado warning go ahead and expire here. And instead, we're going to go with the severe thunderstorm warning. That's going to go for the next 50 minutes until 3:30. So that's extending all the way out past Manchester, past Pineville, and not seeing that rain just yet in those locations, but that's just how far we're seeing that thunderstorm warning coming out. So still anticipating this storm to kind of keep its strength, especially with those wind gusts. But as far as that area of broad rotation goes, not looking quite as impressive anymore, which is good news for us. Still, if you're south of London, continue to head to that safe space, that lowest level interior room. That line of storms behind this initial line clear for your severe weather threat. Starting to get into Corbin here, you're very likely going to be getting that heavy rain, those gusty winds. If you aren't already, we got to keep in mind, of course, that radar is a couple minutes behind, so very possible that you're already seeing that. Same for London, just about to get to you, but most of London not in that tornado warning, maybe far southeastern London seeing that. Almost into Pine Grove, very likely just now starting to get some of those wind gusts. I would make sure that you get to that safe space. But for the most part, we're seeing this indicate that not having as much that broad rotation. Great news for us. Still, however, wanting to stay safe as we continue to track those severe thunderstorm warnings through the morning. I mean, yeah, this line still holding together pretty well. I mean, we've got those thunderstorm warnings all the way from, you know, up near almost into Moorhead, not quite, but still seeing that kind of I-64 all the way down to that Kentucky-Tennessee border. Still seeing that line holding together, not quite outrunning itself just yet, although we are starting to see some of those storms popping out ahead of it. Is that going to expire here soon?
Yeah, it'll disappear. If you want to
Yeah.
wrap it up, and then we'll hit
So we are going to see that tornado warning expiring here within the next minute or so. That's great news. Not seeing that area of broad rotation quite, you know, as intense anymore. Really not seeing it much at all. All that we're left with, and I'll zoom out and give us a little bit of a bigger picture. What we're left with is these severe thunderstorm warnings extending all the way from I-64 down to that Tennessee border, because we're seeing those winds 60 miles an hour and over. So continuing to even see reports of wind damage, heavy rain, torrential downpours perhaps even a little bit of some hail towards far southeastern Kentucky. And there goes that tornado warning. So we will go ahead and send you back to that regularly scheduled programming, but you're going to want to continue to stay safe through this morning as we still see those severe thunderstorm warnings. And we'll keep watching for the potential for maybe some more cycling, maybe some more broad areas of rotation. And we'll of course be back on here to let you know if we see any of that. But for now, we'll send you back to regularly scheduled programming, and we'll continue to be tracking that here at ABC 36.